What's going on, everyone? What's going on?
Welcome.
Welcome back to another episode of Carbonite Bounty BS with me and the nerds here. How's everyone doing this week? We're good?
Absolutely.
I'm having a tremendous week, frankly. It's great.
Good to be back. Good to be back after the busy travel season there with the holiday and last couple of weeks, people on the road and whatnot. So good to be back and good to obviously get a trailer leading up to discussion. So that's always a fun thing for them to give us something to talk about. So with that in mind, before we even get into what we saw this week, let's let our guy DP let you guys know where to find us at.
Nerdcyclopedia.com, people. Your new favorite fan fiction site for Star Wars stuff. You got to love that. All right. But also make sure that you're checking out our site for all your favorite social media platforms at Nerdcyclopedia. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and coming soon, Threads.
Ooh, Threads!
the Twitter competition, Musk and the other guy, Zuckerberg, they're going at it, cage matching and stuff. Anyway, listen to us on iHeartRadio, your favorite podcast on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, thank you. Hit that subscribe button and hit that notification button so anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you as well. Make sure that you are sharing our feed so everybody can actually see us on there. Join our Facebook group, Carbonite Bounty BS, the Star Wars group. Oh, can ask for a link. Carbonite Bounty Star Wars group. So anytime that we're on there, get all your favorite memes from Thomas Hastings and everything, Star Wars related. Catch us on email. So leave us some feedback, nerdcyclopedia.com. We are definitely, up for all your feedback and everything Nerdcyclopedia related.
Gotta love live TV, right?
Gotta love it.
That's why we do what we do
right now.
Why we do? Oh no! This is terrible. No. Fire the producer.
Oh, did we lose him? Oh, okay, we got him.
Here we are. All right, we're back.
No, we're all good. I tried to do the in a four. This is Inside Baseball, but in a 4-person podcast, if you hit the one I did before that made us look like idiots, it actually looks really good. So not great. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So we'll get our fourth member in here shortly before we lead things off, but kind of getting the stage set. If anybody hasn't been aware, there was a new Ahsoka trailer, and I'm guessing it will be the final trailer before they do the little TV spot. So they'll do some TV props moving forward, leading up into the premiere next month. But about a month and a week out.
I cannot wait.
It's gonna be
I'll
good.
say, this probably, outside of the first supply season of Mandalorian, this probably has the biggest, hype train. I mean, because this will literally be the culmination of what Dave Filoni's work has been. This is really kind of taking Rebels, taking live action. I mean, he's kind of taken a back seat on the last 2 seasons of Mandalorian as far as getting the show ready. So this will be the big culmination of everything moving forward. So with that being said here, we'll let our guy DP let you guys get this trailer going, and we'll get our reactions here of the newest Ahsoka trailer.
All right, so here we go.
War is inevitable. One must destroy in order to create. We are no Jedi.
I started hearing whispers of Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
What happens when we find Thrawn?
Power, such as you've never dreamed.
I've spent most of my life fighting a war. That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one. You and I both know who could help you with this.
She's still just as stubborn as ever.
I bet your master found you difficult at times.
Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him, just like I walked away from Sabine.
You never made things easy for me, Master.
As a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can. But I'm counting on you to see this through.
Nice haircut. Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings.
Buckle up.
If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain. You have no power.
Anakin spoke highly of you.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
We have a lot of work to do.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
Oh yeah.
So is it August
pretty good.
yet?
One more month.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, 1 month out. 1 month out. So
month out.
So here's what I hate about these trailers, like these sneak peeks. Like they're showing us all these little things, and we're gonna watch the first 2 episodes, and none of it's gonna be in it.
Yeah.
None of it.
I don't know. Traditionally, in the trailers, it is usually in the first couple. They usually hit us with a surprise.
I feel like
They can't let all of that drop in the first 2 episodes.
That's a
Yeah.
lot going on.
That's a lot. That's a lot of timeline happening in 60 minutes of video, or however long these episodes.
Hopefully, we'll get into that. Hopefully, it's not 60 minutes.
Yeah, more. Yeah. Hopefully it's more.
60 minutes. But yeah, I guess we'll kind of start the discussion as far as initial reactions on it. Yeah, it's more of a build up. It's kind of weird, when we talk about this, coming from where we know as far as the Marvel universe. Like, I feel like, I don't know, they dangle a lot out, as far as characters. I wish they would have kept a little more secret, especially the Sabine whole, apprentice. I wish they kept that in the background. That would have been more of a big reveal, I felt like. Then I guess the big villain at the end, I don't know who the Inquisitor is or whatever that is. So I'm guessing that's going to be the major villain outside of Shin and Balin, which are listed as Dark Jedi. So yeah, I just wish that, as we said, there's a lot of show. I don't even have an episode count yet, but if this was a culmination of, let's just say, 4 episodes, like, I just wish they would keep a little bit more behind, kind of like Marvel does. I didn't expect all that so early.
Are they? So you said, T. Mitch, you said like Dark Jedi. Like I was kind of thinking
They're not.
we're
Sith,
in a
they're
new
not Jedi.
age now. We're in like it's not really Jedi and Sith. Like,
Right.
it's like a combined.
That's the official, like, the press release that Filoni said is like a Dark Jedi. So this is going to the new age, and that's what he's going to go into. What the orange, the like orange amber lightsaber, the meaning of that. It's not red, it's not yellow, it's orange, and they'll go into the meaning of that, and that's kind of where they've coined this Dark Jedi term, which will lead us into, I guess, Star Wars moving forward.
Yeah, the Sith are sort of played out. We're done with the Sith. Whole new Dark Jedi coming our way. And I liked how they sort of incorporated that little scene, that little mural of everybody from
And the
Rebels in the style of Rebels, which seems
Kind of
very interesting.
cartoonish. I thought it was like a cartoon almost. So yeah, that was.
Like they don't have pictures.
You
They did that for us.
Okay, if they're putting it in the style of the cartoon, it's funny because it was drawn by a cartoon initially and everything,
Right.
but this is in real life, so why would it be drawn by a cartoon? But at the same time, it's like you have to have it as a cartoon because that's what links it. That's how we envision it. So when she comes up to it, it's like, wow, that's that gives you that feeling of like, you know, just continuity, just, you know, linkage. It just gives you a really good feeling, you know, with that. I don't think I would have wanted drawn as like, you know, real life, you know, as a mimic or whatever, you know, what the cartoon did. So I'm glad they kept it doesn't make sense, but I'm glad they kept it as the cartoon version.
Yeah. Right. And what really linked it all together was Ezra in there, maybe just as a hologram. Maybe that's his only spot in the entire first season of this show. I'll bet it is. I bet
no, boo,
no, because they want to lead into the second season. So maybe this is just Ezra's spot.
I still
do that a lot.
I still think they dropped the ball with not having like an Ezra movie. You know, that's far-fetched. Like, you know, like what happened to this guy? You know, how is he linked with Thrawn? Like, you know, like a whole backstory of what happened to just him, having him as a whole movie. I think also introducing him to like larger audiences as like, you know, this up and coming Jedi and everything. You know, I think they missed the ball as far as that, but that's just me, you know, headcanon fan fictioning, you know, me wanting like a Ezra solo movie.
I think we're gonna get that in in Hitch classic form. These like flashback or whatever Star Wars calls them. I think they're gonna hit us like with those like, you know, those quick little like, you know, montages of like what's happened with Ezra. Like I feel like if they discover him, that's what we'll get is like the quick 5 minute like, oh, this is what's been going on. You know,
I hope not. I hope not. So if we can't get a movie, I hope we get like a whole episode.
Because if you think about the timeline and where this is all going, season 2 of Ahsoka is not going to happen until right before probably Mandalorian, and both of these shows lead up until like the big bad, like the culmination, which is that, you know, Thrawn movie or So yeah, I mean, especially with this writers, you know, and you know, who knows if we even get to see a season 2 before this movie, right? Because they had a timeline and. I don't know. I know what they stopped filming, I guess, Andor because the actors went on strike too. So who knows how this is going to fall out, you know, moving forward.
What I would say positive about this trailer, if the vibe stays true, I mean, they're going back to some really bad characters. Balin running that guy through for basically no reason. We don't know why. But if he's the new, if that's what the Jedi are, if they're these dark Jedi that have these really like sinister and just, I don't care much for life tendencies, that's getting back to what I liked about Vader and the Empire. You know, they just didn't care. You know, if you got in their way, they built some massive machine that would like destroy your planet. I mean, that's Star Wars. And I think this trailer showed a lot in that however long that was. What was that, a minute? I mean, there was a lot in there.
It was a lot.
And they had me at Thrawn as far as I was concerned, because I was someone that read Last Command and that whole trilogy of books, and I felt that was where Star Wars should have gone, not Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So
headcanon fanfic. You know, you wish you could have went somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm sort of in agreement with you, Ken. There was a lot in that trailer. So for them to cover that, you would think that would spread out like the whole season. But I'm thinking that, you know, just about from what we've seen, that a lot of characters I think aren't going to be served well. And I don't want to put a pall over the thing, but you know, when you add Thrawn into this, combined with what we got to find out with Ahsoka, since we haven't seen her for like a minute, we haven't seen our Rebel friends in a minute either. You know, Filoni's packing a lot up in here. You know,
that's what we're saying.
Served.
These can't be half-hour episodes. We literally have we have Hera. We have Hera's son, which we haven't seen yet. We have Chopper. We have Thrawn, which I don't know if we'll see much of him. We have Balin, Shin, Ahsoka, now Sabine. I mean, like I said, how do you? It's just like you're saying, it's a lot to get done in a little bit of time.
Where's
I just hope,
everything? Like, how
as
are they going to address that?
it's just and this is season 1, right? So it's just like I don't know. I mean, he pulled it off with Rebels, but I just don't hope that we stay in that whole like. Because I'm sure he can do it in 22 minutes, kind of like the same format, but like I'll feel cheated to be honest.
Well, this is a,
On
this
22
is a
minute
whole
These
episodes.
episodes got to be at least a half hour or
Here's
more.
my thing about it being
I
half
need
hour
40
though.
minutes. I
This
need
is
40 to
this
45 minutes.
this show's directly like adjacent to Andor. It's linked to Andor directly because we
Right.
share cast. We share, Mon Mothma's in this, and it would be like if you had, Law and Order SVU's Detective Munch showing up in like, an episode of Seinfeld or an episode of Friends or something. It wouldn't make any sense. You know what I mean? You can't, you don't mix usually hours and half hours. So I would hope that they'll give us the good Gentleman's Network hour of 40 minutes. I feel like we can give them credit for the ad time. They shouldn't have to do extra just because they're on a streaming service.
I can agree with that. Great point.
But if it's 22 minutes, it's 22 minutes. I just feel like with 8 episodes, you know what I mean? Just 8, they're probably going to be a little bit longer.
Is it listed as 8 episodes?
Yeah,
sure?
I mean, I Googled it while we were.
Okay, cool. I was trying to find it too. Yeah, I was like, I don't.
Yeah,
That's crazy. 8 episodes. Oh man.
I mean, we want more because we want more content. We want more. We want more meat on our bone. We want what we got with Andor. We still chasing that Andor high, especially what we've got with Mandalorian. Sort of like a come down from what we got with Andor, and this is the next Star Wars thing. So it's like, okay, you're putting your eggs right. Hopefully this is like the thing that. It's not supposed to be on Andor level, but we're dependent so much on Filoni to just bring us home because we may not be getting a good Star Wars thing for like a minute.
Yeah.
And he's bringing in a lot of big characters now. I mean, Anakin's Padawan, and then the Padawan of Anakin's Padawan. I mean, come on. I mean, there's a lot of big characters that should be making things happen. I mean, there should be big stories going on here. I mean, this is going to be a make it or break it because this is a new thing. I mean, for the average, for the fan that's been around for a while and basically my love of movies, my love of Star Wars is from the movies. You're talking about new stuff to me.
Yeah.
This is, Ahsoka. I knew. Because you guys convinced me to watch Clone Wars, right? So I went. So now I know who Anakin had a Padawan. I get it.
I was dragged into Clone Wars,
and Anakin had a Padawan. I get it. But this has to really be good for me to digest it and really buy into it. It's got to be good, and this trailer looked good.
We said the same thing though too. Like with this 2-episode premiere, like it leaves like, and this is the thing we fear, and we talked about it. Like it really, really, really puts you can't do filler. We've seen it with Mandalorian.
Exactly.
The Power Rangers. The Power Rangers.
You cannot have the filler if you do a 2-episode premiere and leave 6 episodes. You don't have room for meat on the bone. You just don't have room to play around with the show. You really gotta.
I remember Obi-Wan premiering, and those first 2 episodes were pretty good, and then it sort of like petered out after.
Right.
But I don't think you have to worry about that with this because
they came back with the fight though. They came back with the fight between Obi-Wan and Darth.
Yeah,
they brought it back a little bit.
Yeah.
There were some highlights. I like some stuff in Obi-Wan. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I think revisiting it will probably have more hindsight, than anything, So at the time, I don't know. Anyway, with this thing though, it's just so much stuff. I think I'm gonna have to do like a rewatch of season 4 of Rebels just to get myself hyped and prepared for it, as if I'm not already hyped enough. But I'm interested in seeing how Rosario Dawson plays his character since we've seen her last in what's the show? We've seen her last play the character in
I believe that was
the
Boba
Mandalorian
Fett.
and Boba Fett. Was it Boba Fett?
I believe that was Boba Fett.
Boba, our favorite show, and
Slash
right, because
Mando season
Boba Fett
2
became
2B.
Mandalorian
Right.
for like 2 episodes.
Mandalorian 2.5. Yeah.
2.5. Yeah. So she plays her in a real, mature status, real more relaxed status than what we generally seen her, in Rebels. Exactly. Going all the way up until the season finale. But she got a lot more mature. She got a lot more, settled in her demeanor, and she's way more settled in this. She's coming back and she's seeing Sabine. Sabine, we get the haircut. We get the classic. Okay, Sabine is back.
And feisty.
And feisty and everything. Yeah.
Feisty and force sensitive. 2X.
Yeah. It's just so much stuff to pack in. I know we're gonna get Anakin at some point, because Hayden Christensen's supposed to be on the show, right?
A little bit. Yeah, he has a little bit of.
So is he going to be like an Ezra, just as a hologram?
I don't know. They've kept this. I'll say, yeah, I don't know. I know they kept the lips tight on the Hayden Christensen stuff. I mean, to be honest, most of this show, usually I get some information, and there is not a lot out for this. I know the guy we saw at the end. It looks like Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow. He's the main villain with a spinning blade. Nobody knows who he is. They're saying maybe like a regen of Storm Killer. I mean, how crazy would that be, right? If they found a way to manipulate what was it? Kanan Jarrus, right? Because Kanan was blind. He had that helmet. How crazy would that be for they warp Kanan and he takes the helmet off and it's him?
What if it's Cameron Monaghan under that thing?
Bro, that would even be crazy, right? If they did a evil Cowcast.
That would set me off. I would just be
buy these video games. You'll never understand what's happening next week.
Instead of the Andor at the end of the credits and everything, you got you're going straight to the game.
It's just the Xbox sound.
Yeah, Kim playing a game after every episode.
I'd go to Dark Forces on PlayStation.
There you go. You go.
That's allowed. Those were good games. I love Jedi Outcast, man. That was a great game.
Yeah, Jedi Outcast.
Realistic. Did you do the realistic saber combat, T. Mitch? Did you know that code that you could put in the thing? You just walk around and be like, with the blue lightsaber, blue lightsaber thing.
Jedi Outcast 2 as well wasn't as good as the first one, but it's the same for these Cameron Monaghan Star Wars games with Cowcastus. The 2 had more content, but the first one was better.
I haven't played. I played the first one for 15 minutes, and I think new video games to me, I just can't do it. I just can't anymore.
The attention span, yeah.
I don't know if it's the attention span. It's just I can play Mega Man or some crap like that for 8 hours straight without worrying about it. But when something happens and I didn't understand the mechanic and you make me go way back at the beginning, I hate that. And it's not it's Dark Souls makes that fast. Right. It churns you out. And I got to the very first waypoint, the very first save where they give you the robot in that game. And then I fell down a hole and I couldn't get out, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's literally the same. And I'm old. I'll tell you, I'm old now because it's literally the same thing that happened when I tried to play Red Dead Redemption 2. I put that in.
Yeah, that's tough.
And they gave me a horse, and I named it Buttercup. And then they shot my horse. And I was like, there's no way.
And you had to kick a dead horse, did you?
I had to shoot it. I had to hide behind it because all the Clampett boys were
shooting.
They were doing a kidnapping, and there was a whole.
Wow.
Buttercup died, but Buttercup didn't die in vain. We rescued. I don't know. I stopped playing. I was just like, I'm not starting a new relationship with a new horse. That just seems like too much.
And this is a video game, Steel City.
I know, right? Imagine how reluctant I am to have a relationship with a horse in real life. If I'm this reluctant to have a relationship with a horse in a video game setting.
There's a lot of neglected horses out there.
That's true. That's true. The Industrial Revolution was not kind on them as far as job prospects.
Nope. Ford made sure that by designing cars that had like 150 horses, and then they doubled it, and then they tripled it. So it's all Ford's fault.
You know what's interesting as well is the magistrate lady who looks like is she like a night sister now, or like, you know, the one that was like kind of like opening the portal between the world between worlds? She was in
Oh yeah, she was.
She's a magistrate in a couple Mandalorian episodes, but I don't know if she's like a night sister now or like what her whole deal is.
Oh, she
So
was
she was in Mandalorian.
She was that person with the stick.
Oh,
The
yeah.
staff.
Oh
Remember the
yeah,
Beskar staff?
yeah.
So like she is the person that like opens the portal, I guess, between the world between worlds. She has that like energy thing. So like, was she like a night sister
Does
in
that have
hiding,
to do
or
with the Sith Rubicon? Like, I know that thing was basically coordinates, but could it also have coordinates that?
the unknown regions?
Yes, it could show you where rips in time were. You know, like
I don't know, because that was weird, because that was, so when they showed that scene it was like outside, but I swore in the first trailer she goes down in that tunnel and goes to like that same area. So I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the first trailer.
It could be
again
the
and
same
second
sequence
one.
cut out of order. Like that could be the
It could've,
approach.
yeah.
That could be the
Could've,
approach, and it's like 10 seconds before the next scene.
Maybe.
that you're talking about.
Yeah. So
Cut
yeah,
it out
maybe
of-
that's what
a
it
secret.
is.
That's inside trailer baseball. Show things out of order.
Right.
People never
and
know.
they do that. That's why I initially said they can't. I mean, they showed us so much, and we're gonna watch these first 2 episodes and be like, well, that wasn't anything we were expecting. That was that was totally different. It was all lead up to something else. Like they can't spill all of that in the first 2 episodes.
They probably
That
won't.
wouldn't be.
No. They did say though,
a good idea.
this series will have the most combat and fights you'll ever see. So I mean, with this being kind of
That's what I'm hoping.
that
That's what I'm hoping.
Shaolin style, you know, because Ahsoka's more of like a, you know, in all intents and purposes, a ninja to some sort, and then we have this, you know, so her fighting style with the 2 of them, so yeah, the katanas. So you know, I definitely think we'll see a lot more action, you know, as far as lightsaber battles and her in live action, which will be really cool.
Well, this is the most lightsaber stuff we've seen all Star Wars. You know,
This is ever. Yeah, there's a lot of different battles.
Stuff, you know,
I mean, there's not a lot of. I mean, there's some like Jedi Sith combat's pretty rare, and they do a lot of like these lightsaber duels. But then they only have like there's like what 4 lightsaber duels that we know about that happened in like I don't know 100 years or something like that. That's not a whole lot. That's not a lot. So to find all these factions already having and possessing lightsabers is a really big deal. It means there's definitely going to be like they were saying some good long fight scenes, and I'm looking forward to seeing like the nuances here between the different Force users. I'm looking to see like how is a Jedi different from one of these orange cats versus you know a Sith like Darth Vader who snapped a guy's neck for no reason. Obi-Wan, right? Like just for fun. Pretty.
The interesting thing was like when Sabine was on the ground, like, and she said you have no power, so she doesn't have the Force. She's just has a lightsaber. Like it was kind of weird, you know what I mean? That scene kind of threw me off. Like
I think that was a taunt.
So I don't know. I mean, she's Force sensitive. If they make her Force sensitive, that'll be like almost like the ultimate kick in it. Sabine, that'll be like the ultimate kick in the nuts for like what's his name? John Boyega's character. That's like the ultimate kick in the nuts for Finn. Like, because that was like what Finn was supposed to be.
At a certain point, I think Force sensitivity is in the pudding. Like if you told me that Wedge Antilles was somewhat Force sensitive, or that Han Solo was somewhat Force sensitive, or that you'd
believe it.
I'd believe it because of the things they do, right? If you told me Barry Bonds, for instance, was Force sensitive.
Right.
and was really meditating hard back in the late 90s, early aughts.
I think we covered this.
And Tom Brady,
Tom Brady at some point
is Force sensitive.
Yeah, Michael Jordan is Force sensitive. You know.
Yeah.
What is the Force?
That's who I'd guess. Like if you said who are the Force sensitive people on this planet, that's who I'd put forward, right?
Okay.
Or someone like Warren Buffett or like that always knows what the next thing's going to be, that can kind of see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Those would be the people I'd put forward. So if you're going to tell me that someone like Sabine, who is, a really well-known artist, so she has that sort of creativity, as a really good fighter and is able to master all the stuff that the Mandalorian suit has, and that person is in fact force sensitive, right? You're telling me they're a Jedi prospect. I get it. Now maybe they're not like a 1-1 prospect. They're not Paul Skeens out here. They're on 103 or 98, and they're not going to rise to the lofty heights of the Jedi Council, right? But look, there's a lot of rank and file Jedi that are just doing their jobs, and those guys are going to be somewhat force sensitive in comparison to the ridiculous heights of power that we see with Palpatine and Skywalkers and Yoda.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The reason I brought that up is I just want to see where Filoni's going to go with the Force, because the last time we thought of the Force, right, it was in everybody. It was just like some had higher, like you said, some had heightened sense that can be trained and drawn out. So the Force is, in everybody. It's just who has the ability to hone it and use it. So I just want to know like where he's going with kind of how the Force is viewed, because obviously we know we're going backwards to the original Jedi and what they thought about it. So I'm just interested to see like kind of, where we get this from, because she showed no traits in Rebels at all. But it'll be nice, I guess, to get a Mandalorian Jedi, right? We talk about it, but it's just to me, she didn't show any heightened sights.
I didn't mention her, but another really good example of that would be Harrison Doolin.
Right.
Who's going to be all over this show. And we have a kid who's most likely force sensitive, as we know,
son,
his dad is.
Yeah.
And here's my question to you guys. Like, and this is something that's interesting. And one of the big, this is one of the big curveballs that episode 8 threw that I liked and that I thought was good. Is the Force something that is like a monarchy where it's passed down, or is it more democratic where it's like how talent is, where it's dispersed sort of evenly across populations and it's random?
You have to be already a part of it. You're born to it.
Well, right, and you have to be born in the galaxy where it is. I'm not, Ken. Unlike you, I'm not insinuating that the Force is a real thing that we deal with in this galaxy. I understand the limits of fiction.
No. I think it's real. and you can, like we just talked about, there are humans in our reality that are far superior at things than anybody else. And to me, that's them using the Force.
So, like, to your point, maybe our species just has a really weak connection to the Force, because that's something that's like a bell curve, probably.
Because it's not taught. It's not encouraged.
So we don't know how to access it.
Right. Albert Einstein used the Force.
Yeah, man.
Okay? You would be pretty surprised to hear that, I would think.
Well, and he's probably turning over in his grave, but whatever. He was a human that was he had that much better access to things than anybody else, and he understood things that no one else could understand. And to me, that's being a Jedi.
It's just history fact. Thomas Edison actually created the first lightsaber.
Okay. And that's also, I mean, think about the great people in our lives, in reality, that were doing things that we thought were unimaginable, unattainable. We could never do it.
That we think of, just like that guy in the basement that made the first chicken nugget. He was in the chicken nugget.
Well, now
but he'll never get credit.
Ronald McDonald took that.
McDonald's took that.
I mean, there are people that we know that do things that we think, wow, that was great. How did you do that? How were you able to do that? And they're attuned to the Force. I mean, the Force isn't something, it's not made up. It's a real thing. George didn't just like wake up one day and say, I'm gonna create this thing called the Force. It was already here. It's already something that everyone can access, but some people have a little bit a better edge on it than others.
He just decided to call it the Force in his
mind. He just decided to call it the Force. I call it extreme attuneness to greatness.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I call it mathematics.
Well, there are people that say,
we named a bunch of athletes that will never be athletes like these people.
I think it's wrong to consider limiting this to physical stuff, because I think that what you're talking about is something interesting about intuition. And
the same thing with chess masters, right? Some of those
right.
chess masters, bro, like, come on.
Well,
I've seen that.
Here's my thing. That's okay. That's analysis. That's calculation. That's like CPU processing, right? The Force is more like intuition and ability. Like it's like flow. Like if you're playing music and you're improvising for a long time, you just keep going
and
like
keep going.
That's different from what you're consciously trying to do.
And you know what the notes are going to be before you play them.
Yeah.
Right. You can see it. You can see it or conceptualize it. And, to me, Einstein's the guy that had like the best like reality emulator for physics in a brain ever. Like he could see the ability. What Einstein's biggest thing to me was the ability to conceptualize himself moving at the speed of light away from something and what that would be like. That to me is beyond attainable.
He understood what could not be understood.
Except it could.
Things. Yeah.
We just lacked perspective, and we lived in a dogmatic civilization for a very long time. I mean, it took us
for a very long time until the past 150 years.
I mean, 1650s when we figured out like orbits of stars, right? And when we started to understand how the nature of the solar system was, that's like 300 years ago, and everything that's happened since then, it's taken us to where we are now in our understanding of the universe has happened in a very short amount of time, especially considered in the time scales of what Star Wars wants to tell you, where it's just this infinite, infinite space and this gigantic long time that's like 50,000 years of history for this civilization. So we're young, we're so much younger than them, from a philosophical perspective. And maybe that's a different topic that I don't want to start.
We have a long way to go. And think about religion in general. I mean,
we have a long way to go.
I mean, religion is based on things where people are attuned to unseen energy, unseen reality. I mean, it's all through, Christianity. It's all through Judaism. It's all through I mean, that's where George got all this anyway. He got this from the Japanese culture, and just be having the samurai. The samurai could fight you before you knew there was a fight. I mean, they were able to see the next move, like chess. They were able to see 30. They were able to see maybe 8 moves ahead, so you couldn't beat them. I mean, these were Jedi. These were real Jedi that lived and fought and had jobs and did what they were supposed to do. I mean,
it's crazy. When I went to Japan, like you're saying, the whole Ronin samurai culture is like it's so unique. You see it, you touch it, you feel it, and it like to physically see it and then see it on like the big screen like this. When we saw that Ahsoka episode, that kind of her premiere, it's just like it does bring it all full circle. And then, like I said, to kind of sum up the discussion point, I mean, this show will be a big point as far as moving forward with Filoni, like how he establishes the Force, right? Mm-hmm. Because this isn't going to be the same way he establishes how you have the Force and what it is, like they did in 7, 8, 9. So when we see, because like I said, I think there's a lot of we talk about like the whole Ezra story and how we want to know that. Now finding out that Sabine is Force sensitive, watching all of the Rebels we've seen, she showed no traits of intuition or nothing. Like, I feel like now I need, like, you got to explain that to me. To me, that can be a massive hole in the whole character arc that, like, I don't need
if you have Sabine,
that means the rest of the Wrens were, right? They can't be like this whole skip generation.
You're right. But the Wrens didn't really show up. The Wrens didn't really show up, so they weren't even wasted. That's the one thing. It's like a double-edged sword. Like they brought up the Knights of Ren, and then they didn't utilize them. But yeah, that means that later on, if we need to add some factoids that make them a little bit more interesting, hey, a little bit of no harm, no foul there, right?
Right. So Sabine,
they need something, because I like the feel of this new series. I think it's. I think he's going to do the right thing, because I think the Force needs to be different. It needs to be new life, needs to be breathed into it. Because, I mean, face it, if we talk about Return of the Jedi was like the end, it was the end of the story. Everything connected. We got rid of the bad guy. In fact, one bad guy threw the other bad guy down a shaft, and he exploded into lightning, and he was gone. And then we had the son and the father reunite and bond, and then he died. He passed away, and Luke buried his father, burned him, and it was like it's over. So now Ahsoka needs to pick up from there, and what's going to happen now? Because Force Awakens didn't do a really good job of like reintroducing the story to us. It just didn't.
Come on now, Ken.
It just didn't. It just didn't do service to where we were. So this needs to be our new jump off point for
this is where you enter the flashback episode of what Ken previously on said.
We have to pull this back. Ken, this is a new Ken. I like this, Ken, just to let you know, because when I was like on this whole warpath of like these are shit, you was like, man, this is a 10 out of 10.
Real time.
Because I didn't know there was going to be anything else.
He said,
Ken's doing the river dance here.
But to Ken's point, there are still people who are still like their canon is just anything the movies. They don't care about anything that's like outside of the movies, maybe somewhat the book, but the animated stuff, anything, the video game stuff, anything that's outside of the movie stuff, it doesn't really count.
But if it doesn't really count, then you still have to say sing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're sitting at 7, 8, 9, bro. Come on.
Well, we had the benefit of rehashing this thing over and over and over and picking it apart too.
Sure. Yeah. The sequels were a little bit disjointed. They didn't have a great plot. You can say one. I feel like you could say it. They were all like flawed in their own ways, but the one thing 8 did is it democratized the Force, and let's not forget who makes Star Wars now. It's a company that wants to sell you the experience of becoming a Jedi. And you're going to tell me that in the actual media, the rule isn't going to be almost anybody can be a Jedi.
Right.
That's what the whole like experience of going to this place is going to be in 5 years. It's going to be experience yourself doing the Jedi stuff, move stuff with your mind. Maybe they'll have that hooked up by then at Disney with the Imagineers.
They should have had like a glove you could buy, like in Harry Potter Land you can do the wand and interact. They should have give you like some kind of hand sensor that you can like open doors with the Force.
It's just one of those like
Walmart has
the shooting gallery over by the racer, like in Kennywood where you hit and it goes like the guy plays the piano. They can do that.
Target does it too. You can go to Target and like the doors open when you do this. The door opens.
Hey, we gotta get to this review.
Yeah.
We don't have to. It's not.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about using ChatGPT as a co-author and writing assistant.
Yeah, the co-author.
You just like basically,
partner,
you don't really get like tied up into the actual output like you do when it's just yours. Like if I actually wrote these things, I don't think I could sit here and talk about like what's wrong with it.
I thought it was pretty interesting, though.
Yeah, I did. Did you actually post that to everybody on Facebook yet?
Not yet. I'll do it after we finish talking about it and everything. In case Hitch wants to.
Well, how would we review it then?
Yeah. So do you want to just hold on?
Wait a minute. So did everybody read the script?
I read the script.
I'm saying I don't know if anybody of our listeners have read it yet. So.
Oh yeah. We'll post. It'll be a link that'll be posted. At the bottom. So yeah, when we finish this podcast here, it'll be a link for you to go onto the website and actually look at the script.
It's part of our new series.
Yeah.
Of Star Wars
fanfic. So
two of them.
Definitely have to put the word fan fiction on there.
Oh yeah.
Lucasfilm's been so happy, so yeah, that's the last one we need, right?
That's what we want. We want Lucasfilms to come after us.
Listen,
we will love the attention, please.
Do you guys know what the Streisand effect is? If you sue something to make it go away, you make it you get all the attention, right? So you can't sue a problem like us. You make us go away.
Could you imagine that though? Like that's big for the channel, man. That would be great. I'd be willing to go to court for that.
Yeah. Just why don't we just flagrantly do it so they can go like triple damages and You know, the judge is going to be like, you put yourself on the record, recorded yourself saying you were going to do this. Like, there's no way that would work, right? It would be terrible. Anyway, so that's what's nice about having ChatGPT as a co-author is you don't get all tied up in the output because you didn't spend hours and hours painstakingly crafting every letter.
I feel like GPT didn't put somehow Palpatine died. You know, that was more of a human type.
Okay, so maybe I don't know how many people in the audience have worked with generative AI to make fiction, but you kind of tell it what you want, and it's almost like if you're standing behind someone and they're sitting at a typewriter, right? And you're like, here's what I want you to write, and you describe it like you're saying like a movie producer almost, right? Like, this is what I want to happen here. Yeah, no, don't do that. And then it just makes an output. Now, it's not capable of you can't be like writing me a script for a show about this and it just spits it out and it's, done. But you can shrink the pictures you want it to make. You can shrink the scenes you want it to make and then add them together, almost like a calculus function. Some interesting background things that I had to do on this one. I had a really hard time getting it to keep track of what was going on in this story because it kept reverting to actual Star Wars plot. Like it kept wanting Anakin to be like, oh, I was Darth Vader before, but now I'm not. Like he would say that over and over, and I had to keep redoing it. Obi-Wan kept talking about his children with Anakin. I couldn't get because it was thinking it was that kind of fanfic, by the way. That's how you know ChatGPT scraped everything. And so those are some of maybe the challenges, but I had to graft I found that if you want a group conversation, right, you have to kind of make it produce the individual lines of conversation. So if you want Anakin and Obi-Wan and Padme to have a conversation, you have to produce an Anakin Obi-Wan conversation, an Anakin Padme conversation, and a Padme Obi-Wan conversation, and then drop them all in. So those were a little harder, and it took me a lot longer this time to really get it moving the right direction. When you start a thread, you sort of have to get it generating and moving so that when you say Anakin does this, it knows all the stuff you want Anakin to be doing. So that is one of the reasons we had a delay, is that I was having trouble getting this thing to start working. And I had to on the same thread do 3 takes, right? It's started over and over and over just to get it.
Yeah, I mean, and it shows the whole thing that this is pretty much just a tool. You still have to put the work in.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not going to.
They basically gave you the outline. Yeah, it was an outline. And you had to fill in the.
Well, my least favorite part about writing is formatting. Like if you were writing dialogue, it's open quotation, capital letter, sentence, period, end quotation, indent. I hate it. Right. I've always been really bad at syntax and grammar, and anyone who's ever instructed me can tell you that I'm not good at those things. And ChatGPT sort of handles that. But you have to get a little more direct when you say this person says this, that person says that. If you put stuff in quotes like somehow Palpatine died, it'll just output it. So, if you're a person who's been interested in producing this sort of stuff, or you have story ideas, I highly recommend using this as a tool for creativity. It's helped me a lot break down, for my work. I do a lot of sales emails, and I use ChatGPT to show me what would, if I wanted this to be for a person that, if I wanted it to read like a newspaper, right? And newspapers read at a 6th grade level. You could just say, I want this email. I want an email that would be read at a 6th grade level, and it will show you words that you can use that are at that level that refer to the thing you want to talk about. It's really, really interesting. So I think it's cool, and it's been a fun challenge to use generative AI in this way so far, and I kind of look forward to doing more.
What do we think about the story as it just reads here?
I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the part where we discussed Luke and Leia and the decisions that they had to not necessarily make from their parents, but kind of on their own. Like, who do you want to go with? I really like how it went. I really like how the story developed that way. That's where I really got interested, as far as who would want to go with who and why, and that's where I really started the story would shine. And it's funny, this these two you've done so far, like when you read them, it's one of those things that you can start visualizing it, right? And that's the cool thing. It's not like written at like a first grade level to where it's so broken. Like as this
Right.
gets going,
Yep.
and you can tell, I literally start visualizing like what's going on. So,
And the good thing
I
about
definitely can enjoy like the fact that you're writing these. It to me.
Yeah, I think this was a little bit more challenging.
Oh, go ahead, EP.
Yeah, I think this was probably a little bit more challenging, like I said, for Hitch, because the first one was more of a straight, like, okay, it was a what if, but it pretty much brought things back home, as far as like, okay, this is just a different alternate reality of what could have happened and everything. This sort of like challenges something that, like Hitch said, he had to keep going to put conversations together, which didn't never happen,
because this what if changed everything.
Yes, it did.
This
never
changed
happened.
The entire Star Wars story completely, because we learned about this at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and then Rogue One, and then A New Hope.
Right.
So that didn't happen. None of that happened, because now we have,
because somehow Palpatine died.
Yep. And we have the twins being raised by their parents.
By their parents, right.
Lucas probably thought about that. I thought, well, what if the Anakin and Padme raised the kids, He probably had that idea, and I think his wife at the time probably thought, no, you know what? I liked your first idea. and ixnayed on the nuclear family concept of Star Wars, because that's so like 50s American. I mean, we don't need that. We've already had that.
Right. It's not as much conflict in the family or raising of the family as it would be okay that you split these two. They don't have any idea who one another is, because their parents died. They're being raised by two different factions and stuff. Now that we got like the family together, this sort of just brings a what if. It takes it off in a whole different direction. And like T. Mitch said, I like the choosing, the siblings versions of where each of them want to go with themselves.
I think for me, it was interesting to have it was interesting to think about why, like, if I was Ahsoka, like, why would I want Luke, right? Like, why would that be the case? And to me, it comes down to, she, her training with Anakin wasn't complete, and she would be interested in having the experience of training Anakin specifically, right? And to Obi-Wan, he would not be interested in doing that again, because he didn't like it the first time, right?
No, I think he was frustrated with it.
Right. So I think that he would see the opportunity to train Leia as more, more attractive, just because she is less predisposed to be like Anakin. So he would think, right?
And just to be clear with like the Chat GPT there, Hitch, you have to guide the AI to those ideas, right? This is not something that they would, that the thing would just think of on its own to go.
No, I mean, it doesn't really do stuff like that. It would it would do like random stuff, but it doesn't have like a ability to like deliver motivations to characters.
Right.
Like if you, it's a really great writing assistant. Like as long as you are putting the right details into the prompts that you use, it can generate what you want. And I think that's one of the main skills with it is it's like, how do you write a prompt that makes this thing do what you want it to do? And I think that is going to become a very important skill, not just for like my professional career, which I think it's going to be an extremely important. I'm a business to business outbound salesperson in my professional career. So for me, I'm doing constant outreach and trying to get everybody's eyeballs on me to talk about the products I sell. And it makes it so that you can, do a lot of tailoring really fast. But I think being able to utilize that's going to be a huge skill. And so is being able to recognize it, like see it. Like, can I see that this is AI generated or not is going to be a big skill. And yeah, there's limitations to it now, but that's the thing. Like, we were talking about horses and Model Ts, and I bring up stuff like that all the time on this show. But this is like, I tell people the car, this is not like the Model T that we're dealing with now. It's like 1895, and you've got a rudder on the front of it. It's got like 8 wheels or whatever, and runs on steam. Like that's where we are today. So, you know, by the time this Ahsoka season 2 is out, there's a very real possibility that the types of generative AIs that we could just be like, hey, you know, tell us a Star Wars story where the 4 of us are characters, use the images of us that you have from the internet and write it and show me the movie. Like that's possible. So we're really sitting at the the beginning of an exponential growth curve in these things' capabilities.
With I like the fact in the script that this shows like a softer Anakin after Palpatine, you know, passes or dies or whatever. This shows like, you know, he's playing with the Darth Vader, you know, costume, you know, the suit and stuff. You know, he tries it on and, you know, he does the voice and stuff, but he's still Anakin Skywalker. He's not the Darth Vader that we.
You know why? Do you know why?
Go ahead.
Because he's a dad.
Because he's a dad. Yes. Yes.
And you have to remember that.
He has his wife with him, you know, so
right.
A whole different dynamic.
It's completely different. And that's what I like about this What If, because it's impactful, because it was a big jump off point for the rest of our story, and we're changing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, the first one we did where Sidious didn't die. Okay. You know, that or did die. I mean, that was a thing, but this is even bigger because this really drives the whole rest of the story. And if you change it, you're really changing a huge part of it. So it'd be interesting to see where it goes now. Like we've gone what, up almost through just to about A New Hope, maybe a little before.
Yeah.
So now, like, what happens? Like, do we even have this big conflict with the rebellion and the Empire? I mean, what's the Empire? It's struggling. I mean, Tarkin is struggling to keep things
in order,
running,
just to stay relevant, you know. And there's all these installations that Palpatine had that were secret that kind of got, you know, and this is I guess stuff that I didn't like to spell out, but there's probably a lot of these guys hiding. So Thrawn's out there somewhere, you know, Tarkin's out there somewhere, and you have this, you know, Anakin's still in charge of the clone army pretty much, but those guys are getting older, and you know, the question is, my main question for what happens next is which one of the twins does better. Like when they get back together after 5 years, was one of them going to be like leaps and bounds ahead of the other one? And why is it Leia? Why is it literally Leia?
I like the fact that we got like a little bit of relationship with her and her mom, you know. So I mean, we got like, you know, banter between the two, and I mean, it's only 13 pages, but I would have loved to see like how a lot of the stuff between like the relationships, like, you know, play out.
And you know, a daughter and a mom.
clash.
Yeah, you know,
she's
that's
coming
right.
of age and everything, so Leia's going to automatically be hard-headed because that's what we know her. Not hard-headed, but strong will. We know that's what, you know, her to be anyway.
And she mentions that she remembers her mother being that way. When we have that in the canon, we have that in the story. She remembers her mother as being, you know, strong, and you know, I don't know how she remembers that, but she says it. Leia says that to Luke in Return of the Jedi, that she remembers these moments, but we know that there weren't any, right? Because Phantom Menace and with that whole prequel X that out. I mean, there's no way that Leia really knew the strength of her mother, right?
Well, here's a question for you guys. I mean, like, as far as the strength of her mother, do you mean like from like in the canon? Is that what you're talking about? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, I think like Leia has like force sensitive, like she can just sense that about her mother. It's weird that she has that memory, but it's like just an imprint.
Yeah.
You know. And I think that's a neat thing, and it's interesting that she remembers but Luke doesn't, and that to me is that to me is a tell that she is the more powerful one by a lot.
But she just wasn't guided properly because she went off to Alderaan to politics.
Well, also because much like Herod in the Bible, Palpatine would murder any force sensitive children that he found, and therefore you had to kind of hide
religion and the Force. I mean, it's all.
Well, keep in mind though, it makes, as we talk about these stories, it makes now more sense on why she was never trained, right? Look how powerful she is, right? That's the one you go after.
What's she bad at? Have you ever? This is something I think when I think about like what is Leia as a character, I think of her as like competent. You know what I mean? She has like almost a Batman level of competence at everything.
Right.
Diplomacy, she's competent. Dealing with a bunch of teddy bears in the woods. Did you see what her hair looked like? Did you see what her hair looked like by the time Han got there? Like 6 hours later? What? How? How did she do that? Anyway, so to me, it's competent. She's just good at everything, and I think that like I was saying about Barry Bonds and the others that are preternaturally gifted, it seems like that's a tell, right? It's a tell that that's the case. Just like how Poe Dameron, right, can do all the stuff he can do in a plane. If you came back to me and said, P.S., the reason he's that good is because he's force sensitive, I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense internally and logically.
Right. Well, actually, you pretty much tie that into to the story and everything. I mean, the essential thing we were talking about, like even before we started talking about the review and stuff, is how the Force is going to be used. Their understanding of the Force between the two kids, the two siblings and everything, and how their parents are teaching them, Obi-Wan and everything about their use of the Force and their understanding of it. So, I mean, this basically just all ties in together as far as I'm concerned with, what we're seeing in the Twin Destinies. It's sort of like the theme of it, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as next week's episode or starting everything, what do you guys think? What direction do you want to go?
Probably have to talk about it.
Right. That'll be another storyboard session.
It'll be a surprise.
Yeah, we'll
another
surprise it.
If you guys want to break out the next part of the story next week, I'd be fine with that. That would be fun to do.
I actually think that's an idea. What do y'all think? If to break out more like a part 2 of the Twin Destinies.
I think we can continue this almost. Yeah, like a whatever that is. To Kill a Mockingbird, part 1, part 2. Like that was like the whole start of that. Or no, Breaking Dawn. What was it? The Twilight series. Really.
Yeah.
Started the whole 2-parters. So yeah, that's
Avengers, Hunger Games.
All that.
Just a money grab. Those guys.
Oh yeah.
Mission Impossible's doing it now.
Oh yeah.
Right. Even Tom Cruise.
X.
Please go.
Fast X.
Play that right now.
Dial of Destiny. Come on, folks. It's the name of the game.
Hey,
we'll deal with you later, Jada Jones.
Let's not do that.
Oh!
Sorry, had to do it.
Let's not do that movie.
Oh man, hey, Star Wars all day. So yeah, let's do a part 2. And then we'll drop the part 1. You'll get this in the show notes and everything, the part 1 as far as the link, and that'll take you to the Nerdcyclopedia website, and you can see the full script right there.
Yeah, read it.
Read it.
And then that'll get you guys. And then next week will be our storyboard session on how we want to expand on what happens with our children and family. I mean, and then ultimately we have to. I think the most interesting part is we have to come up with a new villain, right? From scratch. So
if you want
everybody out there listening, we kind of got to come up with somebody has to fall.
Wow,
right?
That's crazy.
Somebody has to fall to the dark side, or somebody has to emerge. So that'll be my thought of the weekend. Since I'm the resident Dark Jedi, I will say I'm not a Sith. I'm a Dark Jedi. I'm in the middle. Or maybe I'm a gray Jedi. Who knows? Whatever.
Orange. You got an orange. I think you got an orange lightsaber blade.
You think mine's orange? I definitely have lightning. Yeah. So I'm an orange.
It's not, but nobody's full red. Not outside of not
orange. And orange is my favorite color, which is kind of crazy, right? That's weird. Yeah. So I'm in orange. I always wanted orange. I had an orange lightsaber on the game. So
nice. Oh, hey, my homework assignment for everyone this week, since we're coming with storyboarding next week, is to how did Palpatine die? Like, what does the story make it seem like happened, when, and how? Right? I'm just curious as to what you guys think I was going at there, because I'm kind of curious too.
I think he choked on a Ronto rap.
Yeah, make it the most, random thing or whatever. He tripped over.
He was having dinner. I mean, he has to eat, right? He was having dinner. He ordered a Ronto wrap in a Sandcrawler popcorn container bucket, and he choked to death on some slaw.
Told all the Imperial guards, no matter what you hear, don't come in there. I don't need never come. If you come in, I will destroy you.
And he's there, and he can't force pull the
He can't force pull it out.
He can't force pull out of his throat, so he choked to death.
and Skywalker comes in, and he's just like, I could stop this, but why?
This looks like it's going to be good for ratings, so I'm going to let you die.
Yeah, right? He could have pushed him to Heimlich, like he could have Heimlich them through the force. Right?
He pushed the thing back in, like some Heimlich Damper, and he goes.
That's a comedy bit just waiting to be shot there, all a fiasco waiting to happen.
It might be fun though, yeah, to summarize, I guess. Yeah, I'll think about that. How Palpatine died.
Yeah, that's one version of the story.
Give him the Elvis, Image.
Or you can have different stormtroopers tell their version of how they think they did.
Right. They're all just saying it in that one accent they have. I heard he was on a transport out of the Corellia system, and it was hijacked by pirates.
You forgot that.
I heard he killed all those pirates.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nothing. It's outgassing.
I heard he force choked on a
Ronto wrap.
On a Ronto wrap. He's like,
he drank too much of that sour sarlacc. Drunk to death. Alcohol poisoning.
He's been partying. That guy started partying when he became chancellor. He was like, did you see what his skin looked like 10 years later? Yeah. I mean, come on, guys. He was not being
he was in that 80s hairband culture right now.
Yeah, he was living like he was in poison for 15 years. Of course his liver failed. Why do you think he needed all those clones? He knew what he was doing.
Hey, put it in the script, Hitch. It sounds like you got it. We got the troopers, or we got all types of rumors of his death. Nobody has it right. Someone could hint somehow he passed. Somehow he
died.
Yeah,
somehow Palpatine died.
I don't know how he died.
I just feel like that's less abrupt than what they did in the real one. So it's free game to just be like that.
That's as abrupt as somehow Palpatine's return with the cheesiest line in Star Wars history.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
and we'll
say that. Yeah, right. So we'll say that for another episode of Ken's ratings drop. That's gonna be our new segment.
Seems like every 10 episodes we do, Ken's sequel ratings drop 2.2. So it started at 10, and we've done 100 episodes, so it's 8. So it's just gonna keep.
I'm just amazed the way Ken, he labels himself out of any Lucas film character or whatever. Indiana Jones, that's number one right there.
I bought into the entire George Lucas mindset.
I see.
That is a good one. So I'll give you that.
What can I say? It's a perfect. I mean, he has a knack for it. And when him and Spielberg teamed up, that was money. Right.
I don't know about that, but
I think if George Lucas had never.
What if George and Spielberg worked on Star Wars from the beginning together?
Here's a what if. What if George Lucas never got divorced? How much better would all the Star Wars stuff be?
Yeah, because that's what happened when Phantom Menace. I mean, he was broken up. She wasn't there. She wasn't there to guide him.
To be like, so you want me to leave the shot where the lizard steps in poop? You want me to leave that in the movie? And he's like, yes.
She would have said,
she's like, that's a choice you're making.
She would have said, no, don't do it.
And then director's cut 3 years later.
Yeah.
There it is. All right. I don't have anything else on that.
But nah, definitely a good episode, and definitely great to be back. So kind of left a lot of meat on the bones for everybody to come up with their thoughts and ideas. And as DP said definitely on the beginning of the episode, check out the Facebook group. We'll drop the script here shortly. You guys can review that and give us any ideas you think of how we're going to expand the story of, first off, Palpatine's death, and ultimately what we're going to do with the children growing up and who may be our, future protagonists and antagonists moving forward. So until next week, guys, this is the way.
This is
the way.